Episode number 9 of Making the Case. Fairness and equality is a myth. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to the channel, Making the Case. Your host, Dr. Jacob Isom, author, educator, speaker, entrepreneur. Glad to have you back. For all my new people, thank you for checking out the channel. You won't be disappointed. All right. We have 2 channel norms over here. 1, we attack points and not people. 2, we don't do all the cussing, defamatory remarks. We keep it professional. All right. I have another great episode for you. So let's get into it. Episode 9 of Making the Case. Fair inequality is a myth. Now, I've been saying that equality is a myth for a very long time. And finally, I get to do a video proving my case on why I believe that is. But the thing about it is, it's all around us, right? We understand that we're not equal and things are not fair. As a matter of fact, we know that there's a quote saying that life isn't fair. Now, why would we say life is fair and believe that? Why would we say life isn't fair, excuse me, and believe that it is fair? All right. A little silly. But even when we look at gender, right? We know that gender, and this video is not focusing on gender equality, okay? By any means. We're not equal socially. We're not equal religiously. We're not religious economically, right? We have classes set up for a reason, okay? We understand that wealthy people are not equal to poor people. We understand that Christians and Muslims are not equal to Buddhists and Hinduists. We understand that Democrats and Republicans are not equal to the Libertarian Party. We understand that Bloods and Crips got a little bit more prestige than the Latin Kings and the Vice Lords. It's just a reality, right? So when we look at equality across the board, there is none. Okay. Whether because a lot of people like to scream equality, or well, back in the days it used to be like this. We've never had equality. Now, does our times right now look a little bit different? Absolutely. Most definitely it does. But nonetheless, equality never existed. Now, what I want to do before we get into the evidence is I want to read to you a definition of equality. All right. You know how I do. I always like to define things so we on the same page. So let's get into that definition of equality, shall we? All right. So the definition of equality, which is actually from the United Way, which I thought was actually a good definition. Sorry, I scrolled a little bit too far. Let's go back up. There we go. Equality is a state of being equal, or right? Especially in status, rights, and opportunity. So equal in status, rights, and opportunity. Now, we may be more equal when it comes to rights, even though when it comes to a court of law, we can't say that that is the case, right? We're definitely not equal when it comes to opportunity. We know some people get more opportunities than others. Okay. Status, we know, is not equal. Okay. And a lot of time, particularly in the United States of America, your status is depending on your economic status, right? Can put you in a different tax bracket, which means that you will not be equal to the people that are below you. Okay. Let's read on a little bit more. Equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resources and opportunities, regardless of their circumstances. And we know this is not true. We don't have the same resources. We don't have the same education. How can we be equal? In social and racial justice movement, equality can actually increase inequities in communities, as not every group of people needs the same resource or opportunity allocated to them in order to survive, which is true. Now, a lot of people just do without, right? They find a way to make it work. It's because they have to, right? Not because they want to. So, yes, they can thrive and live, and then they can raise amongst the rate, ranks, and then guess what they're gonna become? They're gonna become higher status, and they're gonna be better than somebody else, or better than what they used to be, and they're gonna feel better than somebody else. That's just how it always operated, particularly with classes. Okay, so I wanted to read that definition for you before we get into our pieces of evidence. Now, today's episode is going to look a little bit different. I just have three pieces of evidence that actually I just want to read to you that actually helps make my case of why equality is a myth and fairness. All right. So, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, let's get into my piece of evidence number one of why I believe that fairness and equality is a myth from a platform called Planet Spark. And it's quite simply titled, Is Equality a Myth? Right? So they asked it in a question format. Mine is more statement, right? So let's get into it. You'll find that the pieces of evidence are coming from a different perspective, but a lot of it end up with the same conclusion that I kind of have myself. So, is equality a myth? Equality is unquestionably about providing everybody with fair possibilities in society. We read the definition, right? It is critical in our lives since it aids in the growth and development of the individual. If everyone had the opportunity to succeed in their lives, the reality we live in will be vastly different. What does equality imply? That's a great question. Equality may be stressed in a variety of ways. Every one of us has been endowed with unique abilities. Every one of us cannot succeed in every subject. We achieve success in many sectors. Thus, equality in this context is a complete illusion. All of us cannot have equal chances, which is absolutely correct, right? We're all born with different abilities. Not only are we born with different abilities, well, we grow into abilities, or we go out and we seek different talents and different skills, which doesn't make us equal. So, what we need to do is, right, get the strengths of everybody, right, put them together, and then make a better place for me and you. All right. So, let's continue. In this case, egalitarianism is not a fiction, but rather a notion that requires careful application. If equality policies are implemented correctly, all members of society, including those in lower socioeconomic groups, will benefit. They will not be left without any form of service or other necessities, which we do not see in our society, right? Well, we see homeless people on the street all the time. In our most economic developed cities, the biggest cities have the most homeless problems. I made a comment to someone the other day. I said, when the last time you seen a stray dog? You'll see a homeless person before you see a homeless pet. That lets you know a lot, right? So we don't see egalitarianism pan out, particularly in the United States, because we really don't believe in it, right? We don't believe in that system. We believe in you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? And you get her done. And for the have-nots, we'll give you welfare. We'll help you out, but you're on your own. We are very individualistic, okay? And we create that in our school system. It's a whole nother video. Let's keep reading. Why is it that equality is referred to as a false narrative? Equality is a concept. Every person in the country has the same rights and protections under the law, or supposed to, right? We know that when men and women commit the same crime, men go to jail longer. We know that if a black man and a white man commit the same crime, that black man is going to jail longer. So it's supposed to be fair and equal under the law, but we know that it doesn't happen that way. Certain laws and regulations are in place to defend our rights and ensure that we are treated equally. However, it is regrettable to remark that the notion of equality is much more significant in theory than in practice, and hence it is best described as an illusion. And that's absolutely right. It sounds good in theory, right? It sounds good that we can be in the household and be like, yeah, we equal. Although when we look religiously, there's an order. Do I got to say it? So religiously is an order, economically is an order, socially is an order with hierarchies. How can there be equality? It boggles my mind. All right. So that's the first piece of evidence I wanted to show you that kind of come at it from a different angle, we're going to get into our second piece of evidence. So, moving on to our second piece of evidence of why I believe fairness and equality is a myth. This actually comes from an e-journal from a platform called Legal Service India. So it's coming at it from a legal standpoint, which the last article kind of did as well, but this will focus more so on the legal side of equality, right? Because really, when we think about equality, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about equal rights. That's really the focus. But of course, we know equality go into a bunch of different aspects, right? So let's get into this article real quick. Once again, this is called Equality is a Myth. So this is more of a statement format that I will put it in. So let's get into it. We all talk about equality, but we don't talk about how to implement it in society because we don't want equal opportunity for everyone. It's human nature to have a good position for ourselves and downgrade other people. That's what I just mentioned in the last piece of evidence. Because we feel good when someone is not equal as we are, we all want supremacy and monarchy, particularly supremacy, right? We want to feel like we better than someone. That's what competition is all about, right? And it's not just in sports, right? In sports, we know we want to bet somebody. We want to say we're the winner. We want to hold that trophy up at the end. We want to put that ring on our finger. Well, in social situations, we want to do the same thing. Whether we're going to a club, whether we're going to an event, we wear certain outfits because we want to stand out. We want to look better than other people, right? So we always have this drive and this need to be better than someone else. We have to admit that to ourselves. Equality has a very deep meaning. You have to understand from a different perspective or view of people. Equality means getting an equal opportunity in every domain, like jobs, education, society, etc. From Mohabharat to the present time, all the conflict is happening because of not getting equality in society at large. Society divide people on their religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth, etc. Article 14 of Indian Constitution talk about equality before the law, and the state shall not deny to any person equality before the law or the equal protection of the laws within the territory of Indian prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. But Article 14 only works for the middle or poor class of people. But when we talk about high or rich class people, they easily manipulate the law because they have the power of money, as we have seen in the Aryan Khan drug case, where he was treated in the custody like a king. After all, he belongs to a well-known family. So even in a whole nother country, right, they talk about, well, the people with money, they make their own rules, or the rule doesn't apply to them. Of course, we just seen that with the case of Donald Trump, right? So we understand that there's a different set of rules if you got money. Everybody understands that. But yet again, we still want to talk about equality. Huh? You want to go there? You want to go that route? Let's keep reading. He got the best facilities possible in the custody. If any common man involved in these type of cases, then I don't think so. He also gets the type of facility, sex, gender discrimination, especially for girls. India is a great example of equality as a myth. The gender gap or sex ratio is rising problem in the Indian population because people think that they have to spend a lot of money on girl education and dowry, and one day girl left behind their parents. In a well-developed society, people need equal rights in every field. That's definitely the myth, right? I mean, it's just not going to happen, right? I mean, it sounds good, just not going to happen. Why I'm saying that equality is a myth is because in the name of equality, we get only discrimination and hatred. There are a lot of differences between people based on caste, sex, religion, and we have to overcome inequality in society by providing better policy, laws, and social services, which I don't believe. I mean, we have laws right now that are put in place to make sure that we get equal treatment. It's just people don't care about the law, right? People break laws every single day. That's not going anywhere, right? So you can put laws in place, but what really has happened is you have to shame people. You have to give people serious and dire consequences, right? But that's not going to happen because those that do have that wealthy status, they want to feel like they better than you. Why would they want to feel like equal? They work too hard to. be on the same level as you. That's just the reality of it. Let's wrap this up. We need a proper system to provide the basic needs of people in rural areas. Gender equality is achieved by the empowerment of women, telling their rights, providing freedom. India is a developing country, and we want India to become developed. Then we need gender equality in society. Economic status is also the main cause of inequality in society. It divides people into the rich, middle, and poor categories. In close, I want to say that equality is a myth because in the present time, people who belong from lower society don't get a chance to compete with a higher class of people. So the same issues that we dealing with in the United States, India is dealing with, and I imagine all other countries are as well, right? If you work yourself up, or even if you inherit your wealth, you're going to feel different than those who don't have the same money as you. That's just the bottom line, right? It should be a simple shut and close case, right? But I got one more piece of evidence that I want to show you that then we're going to wrap things up, all right? So for my last piece of evidence, once again, you guessed it, this article is titled "Is Equality a Myth?" Right? That's why I said this was going to be a little bit different because each article is making a case of why they believe that equality is a myth, right? So this article is from a platform called Group Discussion Ideas, and actually it's literally a list of bullet points of different points that really show you why equality is a myth. So let's get into it. Scroll down. Equality is necessary to achieve a good and balanced society, which ensures better living standards for all. But still, there are many kinds of inequalities in society, such as social inequality, economic inequality, and gender inequality. So, those are the three main inequalities that we typically speak about. I mean, maybe you could say political inequality could be thrown in there, but those three most definitely is what we see that kind of shows itself in our society. Economic inequality has multiple consequences, especially if it can limit our exposure. For example, these days, good quality education is expensive, thereby limiting the opportunity for the less privileged. Similarly, economic inequality can impact the next generation of those individuals too. Absolutely. When we're talking about generational poverty, so those people who parents were impoverished, didn't have much education, grandparents, same thing. So what we're seeing nowadays though is education is a huge focus, even though like the article said, it is expensive, but people are taking that chance, right? Because it can change your life and it will change your life. I would say education definitely changed my life. So that economic inequality for those people that either feel like they're not smart enough, they don't have the money, they're not motivated. Like they can literally keep you in the position, and it is a choice. But at the end of the day, there still need to be some government interference to make education more affordable, right? As well as healthcare. Social inequality comprises a wide spectrum such as discrimination based on gender, race, caste, religion, ethnicity, etc. Still, there exists social inequality in many parts of the world, including the developed nations. So, absolutely. So, you get judged on your gender, you get judged on your race, your ethnicity, your social status, you get judged on how you look, you get judged on your disability, whether that's a learning disability or a physical disability. We all get judged on these social aspects, right? Which, of course, the more you have, the less you go down on the rung, right? We understand this. Gender inequality is evident in the percentage of women in higher positions across the fields, including politics, corporates, bureaucracy, etc. In one of my first couple of videos, though, I did show you the number of the ranks of women in higher paying jobs and education and in leadership position and things about that nature. So those numbers are actually climbing. So even in the 21st century, some families, especially poor families, prefer to educate male-driven children over female children, which of course that is changing as well because we know we have more female college students than we do male. All right. Democrat Democratization of technology is helping to bridge inequalities in society through the availability of information and also by creating awareness and open door for many opportunities. So technology is definitely huge. I would say social media, particularly like platforms like YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok, right? So for smaller channels like myself who get some exposure, those big channels also like, so it's not that we're competing with those big channels, it's just that we get exposure because we get to be on social media. So social media kind of does equal the playing field to some degree, right? But we still know that it's ad dollars and all a whole bunch of other stuff that goes into small and larger channels. So in any endeavor we look at, there's always going to be a discrepancy, right? So things are not always going to be equal. You know, things were, men and women wasn't created equal, right? So let's get into my closing statement, shall we? All right. To be honest with you, I don't believe that I really needed to make much of a case for this video topic. Man, I think it's pretty self-explanatory that fairness and equality is a myth. I mentioned in a previous video, that's why I believe that the feminist movement is sitting on a false premise, right? If their premise is to say they want things to be equal, right? It just doesn't exist. We would never be equal racially, gender wise, economic wise, social wise, anything, right? So the very mechanism that we create, the very systems that we create are embedded hierarchy, right? Even when there isn't a hierarchy that is forced upon us, naturally a hierarchy comes into place because there had to be some type of leadership. So in your home, naturally, most people feel like the man should be leading. I would say the man should be leading because the man is the one typically is going to lay his life on the line. So whoever is laying their life on the line should be the leader. I don't know if it makes sense to me. I don't know if it makes sense to you, right? So it's not a patriarchy thing. It's not a men just want to dominate thing. It's that there in lies a logical, rational step of somebody has to be in charge, right? It exists everywhere, not just the animal kingdom. When we look at insects, naturally they have an aura thing. When you look at birds, right? Do you not see the patterns that birds make? Do you not think that there's a leader in that? Okay. So we just got to get up out of our feelings because over here, we always going to be facts over feelings. So I have people all the time that say they disagree with my posts, social media, and things of that nature. Cool. You may disagree with it with your feelings, but can you use facts to substantiate your argument and articulate yourself to why you disagree with me? Because guess who can? Love you all, right? So equality and fairness is a myth. We just got to deal with that, right? So the people who do have the status and the income and things of that nature, they're quite fine. Typically, it's the people in the lower that it's going to have something to say about equality, or the people or groups that are the ones typically being dominated. Those are the ones always have something to say. Those are the ones always on social media. Is it fair? It's just kind of how it is. And this is not going anywhere. We can, 1,000 years from now, when we all dead and gone, somebody else is going to be having this same discussion that I'm having with you about fairness and equality and how it's a myth. It just is what it is. All right. Hopefully I made the case for you. Please comment, like, subscribe, hit that bell so you know when new videos drop. We almost in double-digit episode, man. Y'all gotta come on, man. Let's get with it. Let's get those subscribers up so we can go live. We can bring people in to chat with me, but we gotta get them subscribers up, baby. All right. Share the video. All right. As always, I'm you, you are me. Love always, love eternal. The worst thing you can do is lie to yourself. Make sure you go get the merch, the books, the t-shirts, Make sure you go get all that, all right? Link's going to be in the description, all right? Hey, we out this thing.